I love the fact that neither of us really know at all what's going to happen. I don't know what I'm going to say. You've probably got a vague idea of what you're going to say because I think you're going to tell a story of what happened for you as a kid. But I think this principle of not knowing is a lovely thing, and I have occasionally thought we should do a talk about this, and I've made a few notes here. Yeah, we should do a talk about that, and I can mention this, I can mention that, and then I've read these notes today, and for me, it just doesn't work like that. It's almost like I'm incapable of being following a kind of menu of points to cover. Because it kind of actually takes me out of the moment, if that's possible. It takes me into into my head. Oh, I must remember to say it, I must remember to say that. Which is totally different to talking to you. You say something, and in that moment, something arises to say, and I hope that comes over in these videos, that they are fresh, and we don't really know what we're going to say.
This is definitely going to be a travelling conversation. We have no idea of the destination.
Well, we may hit the dead end. We don't even know that. So it may not travel very far. It's travelled a bit so far. I didn't know I was going to say this,
One thing that may be interesting to the viewers is when we were working on the books, I hadn't really identified my wound. I think I didn't want to go there. And then one day after, it suddenly became obvious to me, one of my earliest memories is complete terror. It used to go into my nightmares. I think it was hard for me to separate what was dreams and what was reality, whereas now when I think back to it, it's very clear. My parents sent me to a playgroup when I was, 2 or 3, as you do. And this would have been one of my first experiences of being away from my family, specifically my mother. And I remember just complete terror. It's like, I don't want to share, I don't know how to share this, but I was just screaming. Everyone around was concerned. I remember the smell, it was a church hall, the smell of the wooden floor, the herringbone pattern on the floor, and my mother wasn't there, or no one I knew was there, and I just screamed and screamed and screamed and screamed all the time. And the feeling, I was pre-verbal. I couldn't really think or understand, or put words into these things. I just, it was such an intense, clear, it's like yesterday. It was, my first experience of being without love, or, out of love, I guess, disconnected from love. Suddenly this sense of separation. The solution they found was, my older brother is 20 months older than me. He was, with a different group, and they put me in with him, and I was fine. Perfectly happy.
Perfectly happy.
Well, that's how I'm told I was. Just very happy with my brother. So the security, the connection,
to your family,
was back there,
and to your mother.
I felt safe again.
Yeah, the connection to your mother through your brother.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like there's a vibration, there's an energy to your family and to your mum that your brother represented.
I wonder. I know my brother had some sibling rivalry, or some jealousy of me for maybe feelings of displacement. He would have been, say, 4 or 5 at this time. But I suspect that in that situation, the sort of family instinct kicks in. And he would have been
protective.
And so that would have helped. One thing that might be interesting on this subject is to look at, how this experience has affected me. What impact the wound had.
Well, I would say it's the fundamental basis on which the personality is built. So imagine if that hadn't happened. Imagine if that connection to your mother wasn't broken, or to the love source. So on one level, it's a physical thing, it's a relative thing. Here's your mother, and there's a safety source. But if you go up a level, it's love, really. And, obviously we cover all this in the book, but it'd be good to have a bit of a recap here. We begin in the natural state, and the natural state is a connection to love. there is no division yet. We don't feel separate from love. And that means it's not just with our mother or who becomes our love source, or our father or parents, our guardians. But it's to everything. And the connection to the everythingness kind of gradually, as time goes on, shrinks to connection gained through the love source, our particular love source. The focus is pulled in, and then it's on this one person. And then, of course, you have a danger in that if that person is unable to continually, well, first of all, be there, one thing, because life involves you having to be apart from your mother sometimes. But secondly, being able to live the love that they are representing to you all the time. And I would say, unless you're awake, that's not going to happen. So in the book I talk about, I think, a parent who's had a bad day at the office and comes back home and maybe has anger for their boss, and the love that they feel for their child is temporarily kind of maybe masked, and that connection is lost temporarily. There's nothing wrong with that. That's human psychology. That's how it happens. But the child who needs and has this person as their love source, there's going to be a first time where they experience the lack of it, and that is incredibly traumatic, from being held by life and supported and loved and having no experience of the lack of love, to suddenly the lack of it. That's, in biblical terms, suddenly being outside of the Garden of Eden. And it seems to me the story you've told it sounds very much like that was your wound, Of course, that is only representative. It's an event that represents what was happening anyway, which is that there is a separation.
Oh, you think it would have happened one way or another? That's just how it happened to happen for me at that time.
I am really, because looking at babies in the natural state, I would think for most people it would be pretty easy to accept the contention that they are the embodiment of love. But as we grow up, we lose the connection to that love and the ability to live as that love that we are, because something overshadows it and diminishes our perception and our living of it. And of course, in the way I talk about this, what that thing is the personality. So we've come full circle now. You can see how important this subject is. We're talking about the mechanics of how the experience and living of that love is lost. In normal psychology, parents are born with the instinct to love and protect their children. Of course, there's aberrations to that, and there can be postnatal depression, which can disturb that. But in general, that's how we're made. So in a healthy parental situation, that's what the baby gets. Everything is focused on giving the baby what it needs. But even with all that in place, that can be overridden by the personality. Because the personality has its own agenda, and it can overrun even those deep, deep primal setups that we're given. The parents look after the child. In the same way that you may have every intention of being loving to your partner, but if a strong emotion comes in, you may be very unloving to your partner in that moment. So this is a setup. Personality can come in. Personality in the form of usually emotion can come in and disturb the activity of someone sharing and living their love and their heart. This is how we, the baby, are then trained into not living in that same way that we live in the natural state. We're trained to lose that state as much as there's good intention. We are given the message that this is how it is to live on planet Earth, to lose that state and to enter a different state. And that different state is governed by personality. And it's almost like a mass hypnosis, because nobody even realizes. It's so strange. Once you see it, as I've said before, some people's reactions to this work and my books is, but what do you mean? We are the personality. And that's where most people come from. But probably people watching this wouldn't subscribe to that. Therefore, I'm going deeper into the understanding that we are not this personality.